Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got Mark Gordon. He's from Charleston, South Carolina, one of my favorite cities. And he's going to talk to the audience of doctor, lawyer, dentist, entrepreneurs, high income, talk about from sales hopeful to sales led, talking about how founders can build a revenue engine that runs without them. It seems like all the people I've been talking to today around sales, so I'm really happy to have him on. Mark, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and hopefully I can share some valuable stuff with your audience.
Yeah. And you're known by everyone as the Rebel CRO, and talk about your journey and how you built a sales empire.
Yeah, so I started out a million years ago in the mortgage industry just as a loan officer. I did really well in that space, moved my way up, then raised some money, founded my own mortgage company, did that for about 5 years, had an exit there, which was great. And then was planning to move from New Jersey to Charleston, South Carolina, and have an easier life, maybe open a small little mortgage company, do something like that. I got recruited to help somebody else who had inherited a 30-year-old mortgage company called Princeton Mortgage. But the company was dormant at that point. They wanted to build a big national lender, but they were doing about 10 loans a month. And so I joined that team, and we helped them scale to becoming one of the fastest growing and larger mortgage companies in the country. And we did that with a lot of success. And then after that, the COVID era of the mortgage industry died down, and decided, hey, I really enjoy building businesses and helping other people build businesses. And so I wanted to take the skills I learned in building these big companies and help small, medium-sized businesses grow and really nail their go-to-market strategy around messaging, lead generation, sales, and the technology that supports it all. And so as I taught thousands of loan officers and realtors how to sell over the last 20 years, I think a lot of those same things will apply to your audience here today.
Yeah, really fascinating. And we're going to talk about AI. And so one thing is talking about is why your marketing isn't working and how to fix it in 30 days.
Yeah, it really depends on what type of marketing that you're doing. And I would say, let me ask this for your audience, is most of your audience doing lead gen the old fashioned way? Are they doing brand marketing? Where are they getting most of their business from in your experience?
A lot of them are they have private practices, the doctors, so they're either on social media. A lot of them have blogs, websites, they capture email addresses. Some of them are using paid ads, SEO, Google. So that's the gist of it.
So one of the things that, I think really applies from my lessons in my space is that when you're in a commodity business, right, you have to be able to differentiate yourself regarding messaging in a very unique way. And so if you're just an optometrist and you're competing against a bunch of other optometrists, how are you going to position yourself and talk about what you do in a way that resonates with people and is different? And so when you're the Rebel CRO, and that was authentic to me and my brand, it's something that people would call me a rebel all the time when I was going to work, is that we would meet somebody who was in that space and, okay, what differentiates you from other doctors? What would your patients say about you? What would your colleagues say about you? And then really what we would want to do is we would want to create a subcategory inside of optometry where you could then own that space and talk about yourself in a different way that really resonates with your potential patients.
Interesting. Next question I have for you is once they get their target niche and their target clients, how do they build a sales motion that works without them?
So say that to me again, ask the question one more time, because once they have their target market and they know it is, how do they build that sales motion?
Yeah, a lot of these, for example, the doctors, they get their, let's say they're the optometrist that specializes in a particular type of glasses, or how do they build that sales motion or systems that they can scale and build sales that works without them?
What I would be focused on in that space is, what is something that you could give away from an example of information or something that's useful or some sort of a test, maybe using AI to see what these glasses would look like on you. But then in order to get that free thing, you have to provide some sort of information that you can capture. So we want to capture a phone number, an email address, some other social media, so that we can reach back out to that person and convince them to come in for something else, maybe that's free, right? And so we want to walk them through that sales process and, cool, try this free AI feature, come in for a free consultation. And then once they're there, that's when you're going to really build your sales motion. You also want to make sure that when you have that data captured, that you're building out flow systems. In other words, you need to be sending information out on a weekly or biweekly basis that is promoting what you do and keeping yourself in front of that person. So on the day they're ready to hear that information and make a decision, you're the one they saw last, because ultimately that's how people are going to most of the time choose what doctor to go to. Most people are probably not choosing on who they think is the best doctor. They're either getting a referral or they're going with whoever they saw most recently. And you want to make sure that you're that person.
Interesting. And so what are 4 systems that every founder needs to scale?
So the 4 systems that we really focus on helping anyone scale in any industry is messaging, lead generation, sales, and technology. And so the technology is never going to be the solve, but it is the thing that can make all those other 3 systems work really well together. And so in this space, it's really, how do I get messaging out there that makes somebody know instantly what makes me different and attracts them to me, so they can either feel safer or more optimistic about what the outcomes of that experience of working with you as a doctor would be. And then how do we work on lead distribution? So you mentioned paid ads, you mentioned SEO, social media, but I still think a lot of people find their doctors through referrals. So how do you make an experience for people where they're comfortable giving out your information? How do you make it easier for your patients to offer you up as a referral? And then once you capture that information, your sales process needs to be about getting that person to come in and sit down for that consultation, because there's very few people that are going to go to 4 different consultations with 4 different doctors. Most people are just looking to feel safe and feel like it's somewhat affordable. And if you can provide that experience to someone once they're in front of you, they're usually going to go with you.
Interesting. A follow-up question I have for you is, like, for example, my typical audience, that the doctor in private practice, and he or she is just running around doing everything. And basically, if they leave for like a family vacation, or if they leave, their business stops. And so we talked about building sales that works without them. But let's say they have all these systems in place, and then their team, like, they go away, and then their team still can't sell their product. What's going on?
Again, I think it really comes down to understanding the exact numbers of that business and understanding what the cost benefit analysis is of having coverage. Certainly, you want to be able to have collateral in place that allows somebody to learn a lot about that process, but it doesn't really matter, right? If you're selling a $30,000 plastic surgery procedure, no one wants to buy that from somebody on your team. And so ultimately, it's also not an emergency, right? So they can wait till you get back from your trip. I often think that it's funny. When I'm trying to teach people how to sell mortgages, I often use a doctor as the example of like how I think loan officers have it wrong and doctors have it right. When you're a doctor, it's not, if someone doesn't get an appointment with you today, it doesn't matter. I can't get an appointment with a doctor today. Usually if I call, I can be whatever. It's like 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, but people still want to go to a doctor that someone recommended to them, and they want to go with somebody they think is going to do a good job. In other industries, I see people that are so worried about urgency all the time. And so here's actually the best way I would explain it. I actually don't think that people expect to be able to get everything they want exactly when they want, especially when it comes to a field like medicine. I think what people really want is someone who's going to be very clear about what the expectations should be, and then they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And so if I say to you, hey, I'm on vacation for the next 2 weeks, but I'll get back to you on Monday the 16th, is the morning or the afternoon better? And they put in morning, and then you do it, you're going to build the credibility that's going to lead you to differentiate from most other doctors, right? And so I think if you're holding yourself to a standard of being always available for everybody, you're going to drive yourself crazy, but you're also going to let people down. I think it's much better to set proper expectations for people and say, listen, this is how this process works, and then make that fit with how you want to run your business. If you are in a space where time is of the essence, then I think you need to staff appropriately for that. And you're going to have to ask yourself, hey, can we offshore some of that? Can we partner with somebody else to cover the time when I'm out and have those relationships set up? But these are the types of problems that separate average business owners from good business owners. And what I would encourage people to do from a mindset perspective is say, hey, these problems are not unique to me. It's not happening to me. And actually, this is the opportunity in me running this business. And so if you're listening to a podcast as a doctor to see how you can get more business, then first of all, you're already ahead of the game. You're thinking about the right stuff, right? And the second thing is that every time there's something like this that shows up as an opportunity, it's really just another way for you to be able to differentiate from your competition and solidify your business if you can solve that problem economically.
Interesting. Another key idea on this that I want to discuss with you is, right now we have the art of AI, and how is that affecting? Because traditionally, like, these algorithms, they govern the social media algorithms. And then, for example, for a long time, it was Google and SEO and search. But now, personally, for example, like at the beginning of the year, I used Google like 90%. By August now, I'm using it. I'm using ChatGPT 70% of the time. Google just doesn't give me good answers anymore. So how should people be looking at artificial intelligence, either in marketing or building systems? Should they be eliminating positions and saving themselves money? How, I'm curious.
I think, I'll give you my own personal experience. If you believe everything that you see online, you would think that you're super behind the ball if you haven't already fired half of your team and figured out how to automate it and the phones answer themselves and all this other stuff. In practicality, and by the way, I sell to SaaS companies, to AI companies I work with and partner with, fintech companies. I don't see any of them having that stuff figured out. What I will say is they are all using AI to make their teams much more efficient and to get a lot more work done faster. And certainly to answer questions and get the answers for things that they would normally need to hire an expert for, but maybe they can figure that out on their own. And so I think we're a little bit far away from like suddenly automating everything. And it's certainly, if I was a doctor, I'm not trying to be a pioneer when it comes to AI, right? We have this saying like settlers get fat and pioneers get slaughtered, right? And so once there's proof of concept, once you know somebody in your network and you believe, and they're believable and they're like, hey, we use AI to do this, then it's time to sit down and look into it because you don't want to fall behind. But you don't want to, people have a very special relationship with doctors in the medical profession. I don't think you want a substandard AI product to get in the way there. Now, if we can use AI to make it so that the person doing your booking or your online tools, whatever it is, like that can be optimized, 100% do stuff like that. But I don't think it's a fix all yet. Now, when it comes to the search engine question you asked specifically, here's just what we really noticed. With Google, it was a lot of backlinks and a lot of different specific word things that you were looking for in terms of making sure that you ranked. With AI, what we're seeing is first, it's hyperlocal, and the more hyperlocal you can make your search, particularly, the better off that you're gonna be. But also, it's very award based, or having other people saying really nice things about your business, and the higher that person's credibility is, the better off. But also, what we've noticed that even doctors may not be aware of this, but in the business community, there's an epidemic of people paying to win awards, right? It's like you want everybody that you see that is like on Forbes, I was featured on Forbes, they paid for that. That was not, Forbes didn't pick them. So secret's out, okay? But what we're finding is that the AI still values that stuff. Even all the fake awards, the paid for awards, the newspaper said, if you have a bunch of awards on your website, we're finding that your name comes up first in a lot of these different searches. And so if you're a doctor and you can get the best of this or the best of that, or have somebody ranking you, what AI is looking for is some way to justify you showing you as the best. And they haven't really sorted out what that means yet. And so what they're really looking for is awards and other people saying it. And so the first thing I would work on is making sure you're getting your reviews up, right? You want to have those reviews. You want to have those 5-star reviews. That's the standard. But then are there those other awards in your industry that maybe even if you're not paying for them, but that you can apply for, that if you can win those awards, it's going to deliver that credibility. And I think the AI systems are going to favor those people, at least for the foreseeable future.
Interesting. I love how you're describing it, is because basically this automated social credibility score, trust score. And I know, like, for example, for doctors, you're quote America's best doctors, but you pay to be on that list. So it's just a form of advertising.
By the way, it's the same in every industry. I sell to a lot of IT services companies. And when I go, hey, ChatGPT, who are the 5 best IT services companies in this area? The companies that we see coming up are the ones that have a bunch of awards on their homepage. And I know that sounds like that's the one thing I can find that's like a common link, is that hey, we were named the best buy. And if they were named the best buy, then they must be the best. And I think there's a lot of that right now. So that would be like a very easy, low lift that I would do if you're trying to make that happen, is go get some awards for yourself and make sure that you're bragging about it on your homepage.
Interesting. For a lot of business owners or operators, they're operating in chaos and they're listening to this. They want to get the clarity. Talk about go-to-market rehab for growth stage startups.
Yeah. So one of the things that blew my mind, the problem that I initially discovered that made me pursue this was I kept running into founders who were brilliant. People graduated from MIT, California Institute of Technology, Berkeley. And I would be like, tell me about your company. And I would get one of 2 types of answers. I would get an answer that was like, hey, our total addressable market is this, and we have all these different people that we can help. And it was like this hey, you're not trying to raise money for me, so I don't know why I'm being pitched about how good your idea is. What do you do? And they couldn't tell me. And then I would get the other side of it, which is they would get to the nitty gritty of like how it worked. It's like we have this next gen AI, and what it does is it pulls from this. And it was like, guys, you've already lost me and everyone else. And so I kind of have this mom test, right? It's like, if I can't call my mom and in 2 sentences tell her what I do or she'll get it, or more importantly, I can't call your mom and tell her in 2 sentences and she'll get it, then you have a messaging problem. And we found that it for whatever reason, doesn't matter how hardworking these people are, how smart they are, when they're in the business and they're working on how the product works and how to raise money, they get locked into that and they forget how to just talk to their customers. And so one of the things that we really do is figure out how can we create creative language to differentiate what you do. In the mortgage industry or real estate, we have to differentiate. Everybody's selling the exact same stuff, right? And how do we differentiate that message in a way where within 2 sentences, everyone's going to know what we do and what makes us special, and they're going to know what we do. And when I say what we do, I mean how we help people achieve X. And so we come in and we start with that. Then we start with the distribution of that message. How do we get it from the right people at the right time? And then we give them a sales process, which is really what sales is in 2025. It's not anymore, hey, we became friends, or hey, I convinced you to do this thing. What people expect in 2025 is for a moment where they go, I never thought of it that way before. And so if you can get somebody to say, wow, like you taught me something today. Now I value you differently than the commodity you're selling me because I learned from you when we have these interactions, and that builds trust and it makes me move towards you. As a doctor, you're sitting down with a patient. If I can make them think about what's going on in a way they hadn't thought about it before, or in a way that, hey, if you fix this, here are all the other things that are going to make a difference in your life. Or worse, if you don't fix this, here are the things that are going to go wrong, right? Now, all of a sudden, if I go, wow, I never thought of it that way before, and you go, cool, well, good news, I have the fix. Now I'm buying that fix from you. And so sales in 2025 is how can you give somebody that moment of, I never thought of it that way before. Because once you do that, you're getting that sale almost 100% of the time.
Wow. How can people connect with you and follow you on social media, reach out to you, and learn more from you?
Yeah. So first, our website is igtms.com. You can see me there. My LinkedIn is Mark D as in Douglas Gordon. And my Instagram is Mark Douglas Gordon, or maybe that's backwards, but either way, Mark D or Mark Douglas Gordon on both of those. We post constantly. And by the way, my phone number is up on my LinkedIn. You can reach out, text, or call. No matter what stage you're in, if you feel like you're in a place where you need help with your go-to-market strategy, and again, with that core 4 that we've been talking about, we're happy to help. And again, maybe you're not the right fit for our business right now. Most of the time we're working with mid-sized companies, but either way, we can point you in the right direction, or at least get you in front of a marketing team that can really help you with some of the basics. We're happy to help anyone in the space that needs help, or in any space. And I really appreciate you having me on so I could share my message with your audience. I hope they found it valuable.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.